White men commit up to 45 times more violent crime than undocumented immigrants. This comment somehow made it onto my page, even though when I responded with a direct link to some hair plugs, that of course violated community guidelines. But I digress. This is obviously a huge talking point for people who are anti-immigrant, right? That illegal immigrants commit this huge amount of crime. They're this massive danger to society. So here are some helpful statistics around that if you find yourself in an argument with someone like this. White men make up about 29% of the US population. However, they are responsible for about 43% of all violent crime committed. Undocumented immigrants make up about 3.2% of the population, and they are responsible for about 1.5% of the violent crime that happens in the United States. 1.5%. That means that white men commit 40 times the amount of violent crime than undocumented immigrants do. So no, I'm actually not afraid of the quote trash that Biden lets into this country. The only person that I'm actually afraid of is you.
Statistics don't lie, Dwight says. They say black people are the overwhelming majority in violent attacks? Really? I swear I just did a video about this yesterday. If you go to the FBI's website and pull up crime in the United States and break it down by demographics, you will get this table, which is how many people are convicted for a crime by race. And you'll notice down at the bottom it says violent crime, which is everything from moida to rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, theft, motor vehicle theft, and arson. And it's all of those. And guess who's at the top? Because those are numbers, and you can see which number is biggest, right? But if you scroll over to a much smaller, easier to comprehend number, which is the percentages, you'll notice down there, it says 67% for white people and only 30% for black people. So you're right, statistics don't lie. You do. White people commit more crimes, more violent crimes in the United States than all other demographics put together.
White women, talk to your fucking sons, okay? And I don't mean just like see if Billy is real happy on the football team and if Ashley's gonna go out with him. I mean tell him about empathy and boundaries and consent and talk about fear and talk about anger and talk about therapy, which is an option, and talk about feelings and emotions and how to express them properly and not keep it all boxed in, and get in their face and say, are you okay? Are you really okay? Tell me what's not okay with you today, and let's work on that. Instead of just telling them how great they are and how special they are and how beautiful they are and how they're just the love of your life, fucking talk to them like humans that are going to be out in the world dealing with their shit along with other people's shit so that they don't fucking shoot other people as a result of it, okay? White moms, it's on you. Sorry.
This is who we've always been. The problem is that white people have their heads up their ass still. Too many of you still just don't want to accept what this is. So let me give you a history lesson of what this shithole country is. And if you don't like that, then you can ship your ass back to England with your head up your ass, because you don't actually want to hear the history of America. So let me tell you what this country is. When we as white people were too lazy to do our own jobs, we stole black people from Africa on the Middle Passage. 1.2 million died. Sharks would follow the boats, waiting for the bodies. Then we kept them as king animals, beat them, whipped them, put them in trees, fed them to alligators, burnt down their Wall Street. Then we put Asians in internment camps. Women couldn't even fucking vote or have rights or credit or no-fault divorce until the 80s. 1860s, the Supreme Court said black people weren't even citizens. And part of this country doesn't want to hear that. I'm a patriot. You're a piece of is what you are. You're not a fucking patriot. You're a nationalist. You don't want to actually talk about American history. You want to talk about white history, which is why you don't want slavery in the Smithsonian, because it offends your version of American exceptionalism. We are a shithole country. We're not even the greatest country in North America. And once again, if you don't like it, ship your ass back to England. White men are the mental health problem in this country. Jim Crow, white men. Slavery, white men. Segregation, white men. Concentration camps for Asian Americans in the late 30s and early 40s. 1,800 people died. How many black people were hung from trees? 8,000. Let me guess. Oh yeah, once again, white men. The gun violence? 98% are men. 84% are white men, U.S. citizens. I see a trend. How about the Middle Passage where 1.2 African Americans died? Oh yeah, once again, white men. Why was the Second Amendment written? Let me think. So black people couldn't have their freedoms. So the white men could once again control them. Who's in the White House? Wow, I see a trend. But somehow Americans are just begging to blame a trans person, a non-white person. See, what happened to George Floyd is symbolic of what's happening in this country. The white man putting his knee on the neck of a non-white person and sitting there in broad daylight with the balls to say, who's going to stop me? And that's what we're seeing right now. So that's the question that we need to ask ourselves as a fucking country. Who's going to stop them? Because I'm just one person here. Now, I don't know about you, but I got friends and family that are sitting behind the white privilege, and I want nothing to do with them. Not because of who they are, because their lack of action. Martin Luther King said, history is going to remember not the people that did bad things, but the good people that stood by and did nothing. Because once again, the white man is hiding behind their privilege while everybody else is getting treated like absolute fucking garbage. Because it doesn't affect me. You don't even want to go on a general strike to stop fascism. Oh, I can't work. Oh, I got a job. White man is the mental health crisis in the United States of America. It has been since day one. When you look at the majority of them, what do you see? A bunch of insecure little wannabe alpha males with small penises that need big trucks and guns to feel like a real man. That's the real problem, is toxic masculinity. That the white man feels unable to shit on everyone's rights just because of how they look. It's ironic, isn't it, that they demonize black people because they're black on the outside, and yet their hearts are black on the inside. Isn't that ironic? And every single time we see a mass shooting, they're just salivating on the white supremacist red hatters to say, oh my gosh, it was an immigrant, it was a trans person, it was a gay people. 84% of gun violence is white men. But when it happens, like at the church the other day, what happens? Oh, thoughts and prayers. But what happened with the racist podcaster? Oh, they were just dying for it to be somebody on the left so they can just blame somebody else. And a white man. The Catholic, the church yesterday. A white man. 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 Ahmaud Arbery. Guess what? 3 white men that chased out a black guy. Breonna Taylor. Oh, a white cop. Again and again and again and again and again. It's the same demographic. White men are the problem in this country. And until we address the real mental health epidemic, which is supremacy built on white men controlling people, because that's how this country was designed, for 21-year-old landowning white men to shit on everybody else. This country was designed to benefit my demographic, and that is not okay. That is the original sin of this country. And until we address it, we will never be a great country, and we haven't been a great country. And if you don't like that, then you can...
So speaking as a person who has been adopted by the Black American community, finally, white folks are starting to get it. They are realizing that the issue isn't what they thought, it's them. For decades, the story has always been the same: blame black people, label us as the violent ones, and carry this narrative that we are somehow the root of America's problems. But the reality is, other communities, other races have simply learned from what white Americans has modeled. And if we are being honest, the evidence has always been there. Statistically, the numbers don't lie. Like white people commit more crimes in the US, yet the finger has always been pointed in the direction, making it seem like we are the dangerous ones. Like I said, I'm speaking as a person who's been adopted by the Black American community. Okay, yeah, so like I was saying, making it seem like we are the dangerous ones, the unstoppable ones, yeah, the criminals. that lie has been recycled so much that it has become a stereotype, one that costs lives, opportunities, and dignity for Black American communities every single day. And just look at the recent mass unalivings. Tell me, was it a Black person? Was it a brown person? The answer is no. Over and over again, it's been white perpetrators carrying out these tragedies, but somehow the narrative doesn't shift. The headlines don't say white violence. Instead, they try to soften it, humanize it, excuse it. So yes, it is good to finally see some white folks beginning to take accountability for their own violence. It's not entirely convincing yet, but it's a start, because the truth is the problem was never us. It was always them. And the sooner America fully faces that, the sooner we can have real conversations, real talk about all this and find a solution. Yeah, so let's just continue watching these reaction clips and make sure you drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll come back at the end of this video just to give my final on 2 cents. Let's continue watching.
I'm a racist in recovery. If you haven't seen me before, hi, my name's Janelyn. I have been talking about how I was born and raised in the Deep South, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, raised to be a racist, and how I've been dismantling that for the last 15 years. If you like this content, give me a follow. If you have any comments or questions, please put it in the comments. I will respond to it. If you have any particular topics that you want me to talk about, leave those in the comments. Let's talk about white privilege. I think a lot of white people don't want to accept this concept. I get it. I get why. Like, I'm thinking, I don't have white privilege. I haven't had anything handed to me. I've worked for everything I have. I have worked my ass off, and life has not been easy. I've been through a lot of shit. I get that. But what white privilege is not, it's not having your life handed to you on a silver platter. It doesn't mean you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. It doesn't mean that you haven't worked really hard. It doesn't mean that you haven't experienced loss or failure. It doesn't mean that you haven't had significant obstacles to overcome. It simply means that the color of your skin did not add to those struggles. And I think this goes hand in hand with recognizing and admitting that we have systemic racism or racist laws, racist practices in this country. Because if you can understand that there is racist laws or racist culture, then you can understand why, as a white person, you would have white privilege. You are not subjected to those racist laws. I'm just hoping that somebody will see this and just understand a little bit better that the concept of white privilege, or you admitting that you have white privilege, does not negate any hard work that you've put into your life, and it doesn't negate your struggles or what you had to do to get where you are. It just means that people of color have another barrier in a lot of ways. I invite comments on the topic. I would love to have a dialogue with anyone that's interested in this conversation. Just leave it in the comments and we can certainly talk about.
Okay, so here where we stand, it's not enough to say white folks are finally starting to see themselves as part of the problem. We need proof. And the proof is the data, the history, and what we see today as gun violence spirals out of control. Let's look at the numbers. So in 2019, according to the FBI's Uniform Crime reports, 69% of all arrestees were classified as whites, while 26% were Black or African American. When you dig into violent crime, white individuals still made up the largest shares of arrests. In fact, in that same report, white individuals accounted for about 59.1% of arrests for violent crimes. Now, some might push back, but per capita black people are overrepresented in crime stats. And yes, that is a consequence of systemic oppression, bias policing, red line economic exclusion, and over-policing of black neighborhoods. The statistics don't exist in a vacuum. But what is undeniable is that the narrative always places the burden on black communities while ignoring the reality that in raw numbers, many crimes are committed by white folks. As for gun violence and homicide trends from 2018 to 2022, on average, 80% of homicides were committed with a firearm. And while firearm-related homicide rates have stayed elevated among all groups, some of the greatest increases have been observed among black individuals in recent years. For example, black males experienced the highest age-adjusted rate of firearm homicide in 2021. That was 52.9 deaths per 100,000 among males in the black community. Now, it's true that black Americans, especially young black men, are disproportionately victims of gun violence. This is a tragic outcome of disinvestment, inequality, segregation, and systemic neglect in black communities. That does not mean that black people are inherently more violent. What it does reflect is centuries of oppression, poverty, lack of resources, and constant policing. But let me be very crystal clear. When it comes to high-profile mass unalivings, acts of domestic terror, and spree gun violence, who is overwhelmingly behind them? That is a question that I don't even need to answer. You guys, everyone knows the answer to that question. So yes, I am glad that we are at the point where some white folks are beginning to reckon, even if superficially, with the fact that they too are part of the problem. But let's not act like we crossed a finish line. We are only at the starting block of accountability. We have to push further, demand honest narratives, zero tolerance of excuses, and structure change. When the gun violence escalates, let's not ask, why is black America falling, but rather, why do we have a system that produces a steady churn of violence, mostly at the hands of those who believe themselves above reproach? Tell me, what do you guys think about this video? Do you believe this reckoning is real, or is it surface level? Are we watching a genuine shift, or just a veneer of change? Please go ahead, drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. I read every single one of them, and I truly want to hear your perspective. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'll definitely see you in my next video. Please stay peaceful.